Hello, I'm Emily Reyes. 7 years ago, I disappeared from the spotlight of Silicon Valley, carrying 3 tiny lives in my belly and a heart shattered by a cold divorce. No one knew I had once been the wife of Damian Callahan, a tech mogul. No one knew I was raising triplets on my own, in silence, amidst waves and tears. Then came an invitation, and with it, every secret I thought I had buried. Before I share this unbelievable story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. If you've ever faced hardship for the sake of your family, hit the like button and subscribe. Trust me, you'll want to hear what happened next. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday morning, mixed in with bills and a package of new watercolor brushes. My hands trembled as I read the embossed lettering. A gallery opening in San Francisco. My work featured alongside established artists. 7 years of hiding, and now this. Mom, Theo won't share the cereal. Kai's voice pulled me back to reality. I tucked the invitation behind the coffee maker and turned to my 3 boys. Liam, Theo, and Kai, identical faces with their father's sharp jawline and my stubborn chin. 7 years old, born 3 minutes apart, and the center of my carefully constructed universe here in Santa Barbara. There's plenty for everyone, I said, pouring milk into 3 bowls. The morning sun caught the sea glass on our windowsill, casting blue-green shadows across their breakfast. This was our life. Simple, predictable, safe. I'd chosen this coastal town specifically for its distance from Silicon Valley's spotlight. Here, I was just Emily Reyes, the artist who illustrated children's books and coached Little League on weekends. Not Emily Callahan, former wife of tech mogul Damian Callahan. That woman had dissolved the day I signed divorce papers with one hand while hiding morning sickness with the other. The boys chattered about their upcoming field trip as I braided my hair, still damp from my dawn swim. Swimming had saved me during those early months. The ocean didn't care about my swollen belly or the calls that went unanswered. It just held me, salt and steady. Can we get pizza after school? Liam asked, the negotiator of the 3. We'll see, I said, kissing each head before grabbing my portfolio. I had a deadline for a picture book about brave little foxes. Ironic, considering I'd been hiding like prey for 7 years. That evening, after bedtime stories and prayers, I retrieved the invitation. The gallery owner had been persistent, calling twice. Your series on maternal bonds, she'd said. It speaks to something universal. I traced the date with my finger. One night, I could manage one night away from our bubble. Jason, my neighbor and unlikely best friend, a privacy lawyer who'd moved here for similar reasons, could watch the boys. They adored their Uncle Jay and his elaborate blanket fort engineering. The gallery hummed with that particular energy of wine and whispered critiques. I'd worn my only cocktail dress, a deep blue number that had survived the move. My paintings lined one wall. Mothers and children rendered in watercolor so delicate they seemed to breathe. Stunning work, a woman said beside me. I turned to thank her and froze. Miranda Voss stood there in designer heels, her arm linked through Damian's. My ex-husband, older now with silver threading his temples but still commanding the room like he commanded boardrooms. His eyes scanned the crowd, probably calculating networking opportunities. Then he saw me. The champagne flute in his hand stilled midair. His lips parted slightly. That tell I remembered from years of marriage. Surprise. But I couldn't run, couldn't move, because at that moment my phone buzzed with a text from Jason. Boys wanted to say goodnight. The attached photo filled my screen. 3 faces grinning at the camera. Theo missing a front tooth. Kai's hair sticking up despite my morning efforts. Liam clutching his favorite book. Damian? Miranda's voice cut through. Aren't you going to introduce me? But Damian wasn't looking at me anymore. His gaze had locked onto my phone screen, onto faces that were mirror images of his childhood photos, the ones his mother had shown me long ago. I need some air, I managed, but my voice came out strangled. I pushed through the crowd, past conversations about tech IPOs and art valuations, out onto the gallery's balcony. The San Francisco fog wrapped around me like a cold embrace. My hands shook as I called Jason. Get them ready, I said. We're leaving tonight. Emily, what happened? He saw them. The words tasted like sand. In a photo. He saw them. Behind me, the balcony door opened. I didn't need to turn to know who it was. I could feel him the way you feel a storm approaching. Emily. His voice hadn't changed. Still that low rumble that once made me feel safe. Those boys. Don't. I gripped the balcony railing. Just don't. They're mine. Not a question. A statement delivered with the same certainty he'd once used to predict market trends. I finally turned. Up close, I could see the shock rippling beneath his CEO composure. Good. Let him feel a fraction of what I'd felt standing outside his office 7 years ago. Turned away by a secretary who said Mr. Callahan couldn't be disturbed. They're mine, I corrected. I raised them. Loan. You never told me. The laugh that escaped me was sharp enough to cut. I tried. God, how I tried. But you'd already moved on to the next big acquisition, hadn't you? The divorce was just another contract to execute. He showed up in Santa Barbara 3 days later. No entourage, no Tesla, just a rental car, and the exhausted look of someone who'd been running searches all night. I knew because Jason had warned me. Damian had hired investigators, pulled records, traced my every move since leaving San Francisco. You can't just appear here, I said through my barely opened door. Emily, please, I need to understand. Behind me, I heard the boys playing with Legos, building spaceships for adventures I'd never be part of if Damian had his way. But something in his voice, a rawness I'd never heard, made me step onto the porch. 15 minutes, I said. We sat on opposite ends of my weathered porch swing, the Pacific crashing below. I told him about the positive pregnancy test 2 weeks after he'd served divorce papers. The calls to his office that never got through. The certified letters returned unopened. I even went to your office, I said, watching sandpipers race the waves. Security said I wasn't on the approved list anymore. I was 3 months pregnant, throwing up in your lobby bathroom, and they escorted me out. His knuckles were white where he gripped his knees. I never knew. I swear, Emily, I never knew. The bleeding started at 20 weeks, I continued, needing him to understand the price of his efficient exit from my life. I thought I was losing them. Drove myself to the ER because I had no one else. Spent 2 months on bed rest, painting watercolors from my hospital bed because art supplies were all I could afford after the medical bills. The birth? Emergency C-section, 31 weeks. They were so small, Damian. Liam stopped breathing twice. I lived in the NICU for 2 months, learned to change diapers around oxygen tubes and heart monitors. He stood abruptly, walked to the porch railing. His shoulders shook. The Damian I'd known never cried. Emotion was inefficiency, he'd said. But this man was breaking apart. Their names, he said roughly. Tell me about their names. So I did. Liam for strength, Theo for God's gift, Kai for the ocean that had held me together. I told him about first steps and favorite foods, about Theo's dinosaur obsession and Kai's gentle heart, about Liam's protective instincts that mirrored his father's. I don't want your money, I said finally. We've built a life here. They're happy. Please don't destroy that. He turned, and his face was wrecked. Destroy it? Emily, can I meet them? Not as their father, just as someone who knew their mom once? The boys chose that moment to burst onto the porch, arguing about whose spaceship could fly faster. They stopped short, seeing the stranger. Boys, this is Mr. Callahan, I said carefully. An old friend from when I lived in the city. Theo, my bold one, stepped forward. Did you know our dad? The question hung in the salt air. Damian knelt slowly, putting himself at their eye level. No, he said softly, but I bet he'd be very proud of you. The photo appeared online 2 weeks later. Damian leaving our house, 3 small faces visible through the window behind him. The headline screamed, Tech Titan's secret family? By morning, reporters had descended like locusts. They camped outside the boys' school, shoved microphones at other parents, offered money for information. Someone drone filmed our backyard. Another posted photos of me at the grocery store, circling the boys' faces with red arrows and question marks. Mom, why are those people following us? Liam asked, clutching his backpack tighter. Just ignore them, sweetheart. But you can't ignore whispers at school pickup, or the way birthday party invitations suddenly stopped coming. The final straw came when someone edited security footage from a parking lot, me pulling Kai back from running into traffic to look like I was striking him. Unstable mother hides CEO's children went viral in 6 hours. My publisher called that afternoon. They were reassessing our contract. I found Kai crying in his closet that night, iPad clutched in his small hands. He'd Googled his own name. The internet had opinions about my children, their legitimacy, their worth, their futures. 7-year-olds reading comments about whether they were gold-digging bastards. Uncle Jay? Theo stood in Jason's doorway at midnight, tears streaming. Are we bad kids? Jason called me immediately. Pack a bag, you're staying here tonight. But even his high-security condo couldn't stop the digital assault. Someone leaked my commission rates, my bank records, painted a picture of a struggling artist who'd hidden 3 golden tickets. The narrative wrote itself. Desperate woman traps wealthy man. Miranda gave an exclusive interview to Tech Weekly. She sat in what was clearly Damian's home office, diamond ring catching the light. It's unfortunate when people use children as pawns, she said with practiced concern. Damian and I just want what's best for everyone involved. The magazine included a timeline of Damian's life, noting his focus on innovation during our divorce. They'd even found the secretary who'd turned me away, though she claimed no memory of a pregnant woman. Mommy, Kai whispered one morning, finding me crying over my laptop. Is the scary stuff about us? I closed the screen, pulled him into my lap. No, baby, never. You 3 are perfect exactly as you are. But perfection couldn't pay rent when galleries started canceling showings. It couldn't heal Theo's new stutter or stop Liam from checking locks obsessively. My boys were disappearing into themselves, and I was drowning in lawsuits I couldn't afford to fight. Then Natalie Kane requested an interview. I recognized her immediately. We'd shared a dorm at art school before she switched to journalism. But Natalie Kane was now a Pulitzer nominee, known for exposing tech industry scandals. She sat across from me at a beach cafe, looking uncomfortable. I'm not here for a story, she said. I'm here with a warning. Miranda Voss hired my outlet to destroy you. There are more videos coming, Emily. Edited ones. And a supposed witness who'll claim you told her you deliberately got pregnant to trap Damian. My coffee turned to acid in my stomach. Why tell me? Because I've been in your house. She pulled out her phone, showed me footage. My living room, the boys' bedroom, timestamps from last week. I installed those cameras. Miranda's orders, but I can't. Those are kids, Em. Sweet kids who asked if I wanted to see their art projects. That night, Damian arrived unannounced. Jason had called him after I'd broken down completely. I found them in my kitchen, lawyer and ex-husband, discussing protection orders and media injunctions. I can make this stop, Damian said, but I need full access. Joint custody filing, public acknowledgement, the works. You're leveraging our pain? I stared at him, this stranger wearing my ex-husband's face. I'm trying to protect them. Media responds to narrative. Right now, you're the villain. But if I claim them publicly, if we present a united front and, while Miranda plans the wedding? The words tasted bitter. Your fiancé is the one orchestrating this torture. His jaw tightened. Miranda doesn't speak for me. Doesn't she? She's in your house, Damian, planning your future while destroying ours, Jason interrupted. There's another option. We could file charges against Miranda for harassment, stalking, endangering minors. Natalie's willing to testify. But Damian shook his head. That's months of court battles, more exposure. The boys need protection now. He turned to me. Let me help, please. I thought of Theo's stutter, Kai's tears, Liam standing guard at his brother's bedroom door with a baseball bat he could barely lift. Fine, I whispered. But on my terms? You don't disrupt their routines. You don't promise them anything I haven't approved. And if this makes things worse, it won't. He reached for my hand, stopped himself. I swear, Emily, I'll fix this. The irony wasn't lost on me. The man who'd broken us apart now promising to hold us together. Miranda's press conference was a masterpiece of manipulation. She stood before tech reporters in a designer suit, voice breaking at calculated moments as she painted me as a predator who'd hidden 3 children to maximize future payouts. Damian's too good to see it, she said, dabbing at dry eyes. But I have evidence of her planning. Emails to friends about insurance babies. Bank records showing suspicious deposits. This woman targeted my fiancé at his most vulnerable, during his father's death, and has been playing a long game ever since. Every word was a lie wrapped in just enough truth to sound plausible. Yes, I'd received money during our marriage, my portion of our shared assets. Yes, I'd written to friends about the pregnancy, terrified messages about raising triplets alone. The aftermath was swift. Our landlord gave me 72 hours to vacate. Too much media attention, he said. Parents petitioned to have the boys removed from school. Someone spray-painted "Gold Digger" across my car. Then Liam collapsed during recess. The hospital waiting room filled with reporters before I even arrived. They pressed against windows, shouted questions as I ran through the parking lot. Inside, my 7-year-old lay pale and small, machines monitoring his chest as it struggled for air. Severe asthma attack brought on by stress, the doctor explained. Has he been under pressure lately? I laughed, sharp and broken. Under pressure? My child couldn't breathe because strangers on the internet had decided his existence was a scandal. Damian arrived an hour later, and I watched security struggle to hold back the media tsunami that followed. He looked haggard, still in the board meeting attire he'd abandoned. How is he? Scared. I smoothed Liam's hair, watched his chest rise and fall. They all are. This isn't what I wanted for them. I know. He sat beside me, and for a moment, we were just two parents watching over a sick child. I canceled the merger meeting. I looked at him sharply. He shrugged. Quantum's board is furious. Stock dropped 12% when I walked out. Miranda's threatening to leak the prenup details if I don't get back in line. Then go back. We survived 7 years without you. Did you? His voice was quiet. Because from where I'm sitting, you did everything alone. Their first words, first steps, first day of school. Every fever, every nightmare, every joy. You carried it all. I had help, Jason, my neighbors, but not me. He reached for Liam's small hand. I missed everything because I thought efficiency meant cutting clean. No loose ends, no messy emotions, just on to the next acquisition. Liam stirred, eyes fluttering open. Mom? Right here, baby. His gaze found Damian. Are you the man from Mom's old pictures? I froze. I'd hidden those albums, but children find everything. Damian nodded slowly. Yeah, buddy, I am. You look sad in them, Liam whispered. Mom said you were always working. I was, Damian admitted. Too much. Mom works too, but she always comes to our games. Liam's eyes drooped. Do you like baseball? I could learn? That night, while Liam slept between us, Damian made a call that would change everything. The live stream started at midnight. Damian, still in yesterday's clothes, standing outside the hospital. No PR team, no prepared statements. Just a father's rage channeled into cold precision. My name is Damian Callahan, he began. 7 years ago, I divorced my wife, Emily Reyes. What I didn't know was that she was pregnant with triplets, my sons. She tried to tell me, but my staff had instructions to cut all contact. Those were my orders, my failure. He held up documents, security logs, returned letters, call records. Every attempt she made to reach me, blocked by my own efficiency. While she nearly died in childbirth, I was negotiating acquisitions. While she spent months in the NICU, I was celebrating IPOs. The questions started immediately, but he pushed through. Miranda Voss has orchestrated a campaign to destroy the mother of my children. She hired photographers to stalk them, edited videos to suggest abuse, planted stories to harm their reputation, all while wearing my ring. He pulled off his smartwatch, the one that monitored his every vital sign for peak performance. I'm done optimizing, done prioritizing profit over people. Effective immediately, I'm stepping down as CEO of QuantumNet. My lawyers will be filing charges against anyone who's harassed my family, and I'm establishing the Waves of Tomorrow Foundation to protect children from digital exploitation. What about the merger? Someone shouted. What about my sons? He shot back. They can't breathe because you people turned their lives into content. Their mother lost her livelihood because gossip generates more clicks than truth. So no, I don't give a damn about the merger. The stream ended with him walking back into the hospital, past security, past the shouting masses. Inside, I sat frozen. You just destroyed your life. No, he said quietly, sitting beside Liam's bed. I just started living it. Jason arrived at dawn with news. Natalie had provided evidence, recordings of Miranda ordering the harassment, payments to fake witnesses, the whole sick operation. The FBI was investigating criminal charges. "She'll burn everything down," Jason warned. "The prenup, insider trading allegations she's been sitting on." "Let her," Damian said. He looked at me. "I'm buying a house here. Nothing fancy. Just close, if you'll allow it." I wanted to say no, wanted to protect the walls I'd built so carefully. But I thought of Liam asking about baseball, of Theo and Kai deserving to know their father, of carrying this weight alone for so long. "We'll see," I whispered. Miranda's retaliation was swift, but ultimately self-defeating. The prenup she leaked showed Damian protecting assets not for greed, but to ensure any future children were provided for. The insider trading claims fell apart when investigators found she was the one who'd been using pillow talk for profit. But it was Natalie's public confession that turned the tide. She published everything: the camera installations, the edited footage, the manufactured witnesses. Tech journalism turned on one of their own, but she stood firm. "I watched those boys ask their mom why everyone hated them," she said in interview after interview. "No story is worth that." 1 year later, I stood on the same beach where I'd once swum through morning sickness, painting the final illustration for my new book. The boys played in the tide pools below, their laughter carrying on the salt wind. Damian was helping them build what appeared to be an architecturally unsound sandcastle. "Mom, look!" Kai held up a perfect sand dollar. "Can we keep it?" "Of course, sweetheart." The past year hadn't been a fairy tale. There were custody agreements to navigate, therapy sessions where the boys processed their trauma, nights when they still asked why people had been so mean. Miranda was serving 18 months for criminal harassment and cyberstalking. The internet had moved on to fresher scandals, but there were also baseball games where Damian cheered too loudly, earning eye rolls from his sons. Bedtime stories read by a father learning their favorite voices. Quiet conversations on my porch about who we'd been and who we were becoming. "I'm not asking to come back," he'd said 6 months ago. "I'm asking to move forward." The distinction mattered. We weren't trying to rebuild what had broken. That was gone, scattered like shells after a storm. Instead, we were creating something new. He showed up, consistently, attended every school event, every doctor's appointment, learned that Theo needed routine, that Kai was sensitive to tone, that Liam would protect his brothers before himself. "Did you finish it?" Damian called, climbing the beach path with sand in his hair. I stepped back from the easel. The painting showed 3 boys facing the ocean, their shadows stretching long behind them. But in those shadows were wings, subtle, hopeful, ready to unfold. "The last light," I said, reading the title I'd scripted. Sometimes illumination doesn't come from ahead, but from behind, from the places we've already walked. He studied it quietly. We'd learned to exist in these silences, comfortable now with unspoken things. "Emily," Jason jogged down the beach, laptop in hand. "The publisher wants to option your series, 3 books, major distribution, and," he grinned, "the Waves Foundation wants to sponsor a nationwide tour about protecting children's privacy." I looked at my boys, brown and sun-kissed, playing without fear. At Jason, who'd stood guard when I couldn't stand at all. At Damian, who'd dismantled his life to rebuild theirs. "What do you think?" Damian asked. Not assuming, not directing, just asking. "I think," I said slowly, "that light comes from unexpected places." That evening, we grilled fish on my deck, a new tradition for our unconventional family. The boys told terrible jokes. Jason engineered napkin origami, and Damian helped with dishes without being asked. Miranda's shadow had faded. The internet's cruelty had dulled. What remained was this: a mother who'd found her strength, children who'd learned resilience, and a father who'd discovered that efficiency meant nothing without love. "Mom," Liam said as I tucked them in, "are you happy?" I kissed his forehead, then Theo's, then Kai's. "Yeah, baby, I am." "Is it because Dad's here now?" I considered the question, this child who saw too much. "It's because we're all here, because we're safe, because we choose to be." Later, I found Damian on the porch, watching stars emerge over the Pacific. "Thank you," he said simply. For what? For letting me earn this. I settled beside him on the swing where we'd once sat like strangers. We weren't in love, not yet, maybe not ever in the way we'd been, but we were something else, something harder to name. Partners in protection, co-builders of sanctuary. Two people who'd learned that sometimes the most profound journeys aren't forward into new territory, but back through old pain with new purpose. The boys asked if you're staying, I said. What did you tell them? The truth, that we're figuring it out as we go. He nodded, understanding. We pushed off together, the swing creaking its familiar rhythm. Inside, 3 boys slept safely. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. It always did. But tonight, we swayed in the darkness, finding light in the letting go, in the slow return, in the grace of second chances that looked nothing like the first. The ocean murmured below, endless and forgiving. I thought of the woman who'd swum through its waves, pregnant and alone, believing she'd lost everything. She hadn't known then what I knew now, that sometimes we must break completely before we can rebuild, that love isn't always romantic. Sometimes it's simply showing up, that the light we need most often comes from behind, illuminating the shadows we've walked through, showing us how far we've actually come.